And welcome. Just want to get a few of our regular ground rules and stuff organized for tonight. Our agenda, as I mentioned in the email I sent around, we are going to have a featured presentation tonight from Mrs. Van Buskirk about the subject selection process. And if everybody who is on the meeting tonight can use the chat and let us know who you are and your email address and your student's name and year, then we can collect the sign in through the chat. And with that, I am going to turn over to Tim for the school update.
Thanks, Heidi. Good evening, everyone. I was thinking, well, first off, Happy New Year to everyone. Hopefully everyone had a great winter recess. Everyone had a relaxing time. Hopefully your children had a nice break and were able to recharge their batteries. I was hoping for the same for our faculty, because it's been a challenge, as you all know, for you as parents, for us as administrators, for the students, for the teachers. But I think that we're doing our best to work together as a community to make the best of a very difficult year for our school, our community, our nation. So I wanted to go through a couple of different slides with you tonight, and then I have a couple other announcements, and then I'm going to turn it over to Nicole Van Buskirk, our assistant principal, who's not just an AP, but also does the roster for our school. We'll give you information about course selection, which I know is always important. Unless you're a senior parent, you'll be worried about course selection at the universities that your children are going to next year. So can you go to the first slide, please? So we have an NHS National Honor Society tutoring program up and running. Mr. Hover, Ben Hover, is the sponsor of the NHS program. And I just wanted to put this important information out there. If you think your child needs assistance in a class, we are working with data and trying to connect them. But if you feel like they're not getting tutoring and they need it, please reach out to Mr. Hover directly, or you can reach out to one of the school-based teacher leaders leading the department. Most of our NHS students are doing this work, but then we also have other students that have been identified by school-based teacher leaders to give tutoring support to our students who are in need. So this is a new program. We've created it to be online. It is monitored by Mr. Hover, and it's there as a support. So I wanted parents to know that's important. You can go to the next one, please. NHS application process. So we just had an induction for our senior class because we didn't induct students last year because of the COVID pandemic. So I just wanted to put these important dates out. They've been sent out to juniors. So if your child is a member 281 and they want to apply to be a member of the Barnwell chapter of the National Honor Society, that is ongoing right now. We will have another assembly, virtual assembly, and we're tentatively scheduling that for February 12th. So if you're a junior,
huh?
I think somebody's not muted.
No.
There you go. So these are important dates. So please make sure if you're a 281 parent, you want your child to apply. Again, you could reach out to Mr. Hover if you have any questions about National Honor Society. Okay, go to the next slide, please. So parent-teacher conferences, we're scheduling them for February 3rd and 4th. They will be during the day, 12:30 to 3. Teachers will be sending out Sign Up Genius link information to you, so be on the lookout for that. You can sign up for the 10-minute for each teacher that you'd like to meet with. We're hoping that you're taking advantage of this opportunity. The second quarter will end on January 27th, just so you know, is the end of the second quarter. And just another reminder, I know I've put this out to you already, there will be no formal midterm examinations like we've done every other year at school. We're trying to relieve stress, to keep students engaged, keep them focused. And I just didn't think it was, after having conversations with teacher leaders and students, we just felt that this was not the year to have midterm examinations virtually. Okay, go to the next one. If you're interested in seeing a virtual show that our students put together, it was amazing. Dickens' A Christmas Carol, that's the YouTube link that you can, and this will be shared with you later. And then also I wanted to commend the students that participated in the first annual virtual public speaking contest. So Layla Johnson from 282 was the first place winner. We had a judge panel, as you can see, some teachers donated their time to be a part of that. And it just shows that our students are trying to remain engaged, and we're trying to do new things, and we're trying to do our traditional events as well. But this was just a great idea that was brought to us by a student, and we wanted to move forward with it. Next slide, please. Mindfulness Matters. So this is an organization we've been working with for years. They work with juniors most of the year in a 12-week program during health class. It's a great program. They work with our teachers. They've worked with teachers to give them an opportunity to work on mental health support sessions, and they just work on giving students breathing techniques to reduce stress. And we're opening this up to all of our students for hour-long sessions. They will be emailed the date that they can participate. So soon, seniors, sophomores, and freshmen, you can see the dates that are becoming. They've already worked with. They're going to be working with members of the International Baccalaureate program, and then they've also been working with some of our sports teams during the virtual practices. So I would say, please try to get your child to be a part of these sessions. At the beginning, I didn't know that much about mindfulness, but I will tell you, it's helped with me with stress, learning these breathing techniques. We're all going through trauma right now over the last almost year that we've been in quarantine because of the pandemic. So this is a great organization that we've been working with for a number of years. And if your child decides to participate in this, they're going to get some new techniques to support them with stress reduction. That's it on my slides, but I had a couple other things just to talk about. Some things that are coming up. So there's going to be a Battle of the Classes trivia entertainment on Friday, January 22nd. So the class sponsors are coordinating that. That's for your children. Mr. Horowitz, who's the 281 class sponsor, is organizing a CHS virtual 5K run walk that will be taking place from March 20th to the 31st. Information is going to be sent out to your children. I will try to get that information out to you because parents can participate as well in this event. We've never done a virtual 5K run or walk, but I think it's just a great event for people to get motivated to get outside and participate in something that's going to be a spirit builder for our school. Chromebooks are being distributed at school. So if your child did not get a Chromebook from the school district when they were distributing them last year or during this year, we have a Chromebook at school with your child's name and their ID number on it. They just have to come, or you can come and pick it up. We are there during the day. This week we are at school until 3:30. Next week the school will be back to closing at 3. But if you need a Chromebook, you can reach out to any member of the admin team, and we will make sure that your child gets a Chromebook. And it's no charge. The district has bought a machine for every single student in the school district. So I have currently a surplus ready to go for students who did not receive one. If they don't want the Chromebook, they don't have to come and take it at this point. They can use the equipment they have at home. But when they do come back, we will be giving them a Chromebook for just an extra machine for home use. I want to thank the Homeless School Association that donated, and this is all of you who've donated funding for laptops for teachers. This week we placed an order for 85 laptops, and the contribution of the Home and School was almost 30 computers. So thank you so much for all the parents who contributed to that. We have teachers using 7- and 8-year-old machines. So this is going to significantly support us as we're in a virtual world and our teachers need top equipment. I saw a question, when can I pick up a laptop? You can pick up a laptop during the day. We're there from 8 to 3 every day, except Fridays because it's half days usually. Senior parents, graduation is on my mind. It is January, but we are moving quickly to the end of your child's time at Central. We had a conversation today with all the Learning Network 1 principals that are all high school principals and the assistant superintendent. She met with the other assistant superintendents in the city after our meeting, and we've put a lot of pressure to find out what is going on. When are we going to get the green light to start planning and preparing? And a lot of this hinges on what the city tells us we can and cannot do. But I wanted to tell senior parents, we are thinking about graduation. We are trying to put together some plans. If you have ideas, send them to me. You know, right now, we don't know what we're going to be approved to do, but I'm still in a fact-finding kind of mode at this point. So if you have ideas, please share them with me, and I will keep you as informed as much as information that I get. You know, there's a lot of rumors out there. I don't have any time frame of when students would return, who would return to school. That's not being shared with us yet. When I know information, and I know it's been formally approved by Dr. Height and his team, you have my word that I will share that information with you as soon as I get it. Okay, so that's all I really have. I don't know if there's any questions for me. because I know most of you are here probably to hear from Mrs. Van Buskirk about course selection. I know it's always an important night for home and school. Any questions for me, Heidi?
I don't see any. The one was about laptops. I think there was just a follow-up about the fact that they want to confirm they pick that up at school, if that's correct.
Yes, yes, I have them at school, and I have them all organized and I have them labeled. So yes, if your child did not get a laptop through the school district of Philadelphia at any of the time since the beginning of the pandemic, we have one at school for them, and you could come during the workday, and we will support you with distribution of that.
And then another question just came in, any word on winter sports?
You know, I don't know what's going to happen with winter sports. I haven't heard anything formal. I know that they're doing virtual meetings, a lot of the teams, but I have not heard anything about sports at this point. Nothing concrete from Jimmy Lynch, who's the head of District 12 Athletics.
Any update on the status of the tennis courts?
Actually, we went out and got two bids from different companies. We're looking at those bids, and we're trying to figure out what we have raised at this point. Mr. Horowitz is the lead on that, so he's working with the Alumni Association to see what we have. The project, I believe, will cost about $300,000, and I think we have a significant amount of that. On the capital front as well, I don't know if anyone read, any of the parents saw, but we did receive a $5 million grant from the state of Pennsylvania through RACB, which is a RACB grant. So that was exciting as well. I'll be meeting with Reggie McNeil, who's the chief operating officer of the school district, on Friday to talk about the Performing Arts Center, and we'll also talk about tennis courts.
Okay, then there's a question. Can we clarify if students have a Chromebook and it needs to be repaired or replaced? Do they go to 440, MLK, or Southern for a swap?
Correct. Yes, that is a great question. Do not come to Central. I don't have a new computer for your child. You would take the computer that they already have that's not working properly, and they will do the swap at one of those sites.
Okay. There's some questions in here that I'm not quite sure I have the whole question, so I don't know how to ask them. Something about, is it going to be online the rest of the year? I don't know what that's referring to. If anybody wants to help me out with that. Can you speak about the mindfulness sessions?
They're going to be fun. There's going to be two different trainers running them. They'll be broken down by last name for each grade, so that there won't be. I believe it'll be about 200 students per session, and they're just going to go through their mindfulness techniques, breathing techniques, stress relief, and it'll be an hour-long session led by a professional member of their team. If the question is the school going to be virtual the entire year, I don't know. I really don't know officially if the school will be virtual the entire year or any students will be returning. In my opinion, I believe that virtual will be on the table for every student who wants virtual, but I don't know if we're going back to a hybrid or what that will look like at this point.
Okay, another question, how are admissions going?
Admissions decisions will go out Friday, and then students will get those. I believe they're supposed to go out this Friday for next year's incoming students. And then they have a couple weeks to decide, and then we hear back.
So there's a question, yeah, is there going to be an update at this meeting from the Anti-Racism Network? And the answer to that is yes, it'll happen after the subject selection process presentation. There's also clarification that 440 is closed as a Chromebook tech center. You have to go to MLK, Southern, and Fitzpatrick Annex.
Thank you for that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's okay. Oh, I think the question about school being online for the rest of the year is because somebody suggested that there's once a school is back on in person, can students park in the new parking lot?
Yes. I'm very excited to fill that new parking lot that we spent $8 million to build. So yeah, I'm just kind of disappointed that it's not filled up every day, mainly because I miss the people in the building, and it's difficult for me to be there every day in an empty building. And you know, when we got back from winter recess, I drove up. come up Ogons Avenue and turn left on Albany before I go into the parking lot. And it was difficult. It's very emotional to come around that where I usually come through, and I see the students coming from every direction into the building. So it's been an emotional drain, I know, on you as parents. I'm a parent as well. I have a 5 and 12-year-old. It's a struggle. I'm very much looking forward to normalcy, then we can get back and get back to normalcy. But we have to continue on. And if you need anything, like I've said to the students, and if you think your child needs something, you let us know, and we'll be there to support you the best that we can.
Okay. The last question came back in about getting a laptop, and yes, the pickup for those is at Central, not at 440.
Yes.
If your child needs
Yes.
to get a Chromebook, they go to Central.
Yeah, if they never got a computer from the district at any point, come to school and we will take care of you at Central.
Yep. Okay, that looks like it for now. I want to get going ahead with the subject selection, and then we can come back around to additional questions. But also, if parents, and guardians, if you have questions during Ms. Van Buskirk's presentation, I don't know if you want to come off mute, Nicole, maybe let us know if you want to get questions during your presentation, or if you'd rather we hold them.
Why don't we wait until the end?
Okay.
Or just put them in the chat as we go, and I'll just answer all questions at the end.
Yeah, we'll use the chat for questions anyway, so we aren't disrupting your presentation.
Okay, great. And then I'll just answer everything at the end.
Okay.
So subject selection will obviously look a little different this year. So the first thing I want to talk about, if you've seen this presentation before, this first part will be the same as you've seen before. What does your child need to graduate? Which is the biggest thing. This list is what the school district requires for graduation. So they need the 4 years of English, they need 4 years of history, and then they need 3 years of math. There is a fallacy out there that you have to have math every school year to graduate, but that is not you only need 3 years of math and 3 years of science. With their senior history class is a multidisciplinary project. It's kind of like a culmination project. That goes in conjunction with the social science class. They're always rostered together. Students then need 2 years of world language. It has to be the same language. And a credit and a half of gym and health. They need 1 full credit of physical education and a half a credit of health. And then the tricky one, or often confusing one, is they need 1 credit that is either a 4th year of math or a 4th year of science or an extra AP or IB course. So they don't have to have a 4th year of math, but they can do that, or they could take a science. So if they wanted to take AP art senior year, that would fulfill that requirement in lieu of taking a 4th year of math or science. That's okay. And then they need to have 2 credits of arts and humanities. And on the next slide is a list of what counts as arts and humanities. Obviously, art classes, any music class, any English elective, so anything beyond those 4 years. So that could be creative writing, that could be theater, that could be multicultural literature, any social studies elective, so psychology, geography, global slavery, any of those classes. And any world language taken beyond those first 2 years of requirements. So students in our IB program take 4 years of language. So that year 3 and 4 fulfills their 2 credits in arts and humanities. But for any student who takes 4 years of language, fulfills, kind of checks that box right away. Okay, next slide, please. So what that looks like for the average Central student, and Central students take all different paths, but this is what each year would typically look like. So if we want to take a minute, I did put question mark at community service at the bottom, because who knows what will happen with that over the next year or two. Typically, the community service gives students a half a credit, which is a nice little buffer towards graduation. But we will reevaluate that next year and what that may look like. But this would be what the average student would take. Okay, next slide, please. So for this school year, normally we begin subject selection with these big assemblies, and all the department chairs kind of get up and give a commercial for their departments and what their electives are. And, Gisela Johnson Smith, they'll say, come and take creative writing. And Galit Cohen will say, but my environmental science class is really good. And they have a good discussions up there, sharing everything with the students. Obviously, we can't do that this year. So what we've decided, what works really well is sticking with the Google Classroom because it's familiar to all students. It's not out of their comfort zone. We will have a subject selection Google Classroom where all information will be housed. So the first 4 or the first 3 slides that you just saw are already on that Google Classroom for students to view in PDFs. A good suggestion, if you want to work hand in hand with your student, you could print out one of the PDFs and start just checking off boxes, just checking off what your student has already taken or coming up with a plan of what they want to move to in the future. That Google Classroom code to join is there, or the link, if I'm sure these slides will be shared with you later, so you can always just click on the link. That's for your student to join. All that information will be there, and they can share that information with you if you would like. Next slide, please. So that Google Classroom code will be shared with students. That'll be shared through their English class, because every single student at Central has to have English all 4 years. So we know that we'll touch all 3 grades. So the next thing is reading through the subject selection guide. That subject selection guide will be updated after January 19th. It'll be updated within the next week, I guess week and a half. It is online from last year, though. We don't have too many changes. There are a couple classes in the music department that they have added, and they'll be coming. But the subject selection guide, as it is online right now from last year, is a good jumping off point. You can find it at centralhigh.net. You can find it under students. You can find it under academics. Both of those tabs will take you there. The link is also on the Google Classroom page already. Our departments, since they can't stand up in front of the students at a big assembly and give a commercial, each department is going to have individual information sessions. This might be advantageous for a lot of students who they know that they're a math person and they absolutely hate sitting through that subject selection assembly because they have to listen to everyone else speak for an hour, but they know they're just going to take more math. So this might be for them. They can just go to the math information sessions. Those dates and times, we've asked all the department chair people to have them scheduled and returned to Mr. McKenna and myself by January 19th. So we'll be publishing those information sessions, the dates and times after January 19th on the classroom page once I have them from the department chairpersons or school-based teacher leaders, sorry. And those information sessions will probably be that 2:30 to 3 o'clock time, 2:30 to 3, 2:30 to 3:30, or in the afternoons on Fridays. But more information to come on when they will be. And then we ask the students to start narrowing it down. Some students have a very specific idea of what they want to take, where other students really just don't know. So 9th graders moving into 10th grade, they're going to choose one elective. 10th graders will choose one elective. 11th graders going into 12th grade, depending on what they've had already, they'll have 2 to 4 electives available to them. Next slide, please. So the school-based teacher leaders have been working with Liz Wesley Williams, our Director of Equity and Inclusion, to revisit their application process. for AP Honors IB courses. Some of those processes may be changing. Same thing, all that information is due to Mr. McKenna for him to review by January 19th. But that is something that we are revisiting and looking at. So if students do need to get permission for a class of their choice, that'll be listed in the subject selection guide with each class. That process will be listed with that course in the subject selection guide. We do ask that, and this is hard, this is a hard ask for teenagers because it's a big subject selection guide, but make sure they read the description carefully. In some art classes, there may be a materials fee, or there may be, students may need to do something like speak with a school-based teacher leader to get into a class. We want to make sure that they know what they're getting themselves into. A lot of times students, when I do drop ed the first 2 weeks of school, a lot of their reason for dropping in class is, I didn't know this is what it was really about. And then we point to the subject selection guide and say, well, right here, it kind of described. So we really want them, if they decide that there's a class that they want, to really make sure they read the description of that class. But the biggest thing is, if we don't know, or your student has a question, or you as a parent have a question, feel free to ask. Rather than using my duties as assistant principal, we're starting to get very muddled with all the rostering duties. So we have a new email address that we started using over the summer, and it worked really great. And that's chsrosteroffice@gmail.com. Mrs. Hockfield, Miss Abby Hockfield, Snyder, and myself, we check that email, the two of us, we check that daily. So feel free to email questions there, or have your student email questions. Thank you. Next slide. So the next thing, students pick all of their classes online. This is through their school district portal, their Infinite Campus portal. This is completely controlled by the school district. So the first thing is that they need to be logged in as a student when they log in through the school district. Some of you would be shocked at how many students come and say it's not working, and it's because they were logged in as their mom or dad or their guardian of some kind rather than themselves. So we want to make sure they're logged in as a student, as themselves. And they fill out the subject selection guide online. It says February to the 19th, because at this time, the only instructions I have from the school district says the portal will probably open the second week in February. So as soon as I have clarification as to the exact date, I will make sure to change that on the Google Classroom, on the subject selection Google Classroom. But for now, I'm projecting this is about where we were last year also. So I'm going to make an assumption that they're going to follow, as a school district, their similar timeline. On the Google Classroom page is a stepper for students of how to and where to go to click exactly for their subject selection choices. But once they're in there, it's a pretty easy process to follow. There'll be a little box for math, and they just click the drop-down menu, and all their math options will pop up, and they just click the one they want, and they just keep working through it. Same thing. If you have any questions or are confused after you look at the form online, because often happens, especially ninth graders, they've never had to do this before. We are going to have roster office drop-in sessions. Next slide, please. And these roster office drop-in sessions will be with myself and Mrs. Snyder, and they will be on these dates. I don't want to interfere with anyone's potential getting tutoring or working with teachers, so these drop-in sessions will be 3 to 4. And if students can't make these drop-in sessions, that's fine. They can always just email the Gmail account, send us an email, and we can make an appointment with students to meet at a better time. But for now, we're going to do a large Google Meet, and we can address students' individual questions at that time. Okay, next slide. Normally, I would talk about sports rosters and work rosters at this point, but we don't know what that'll look like come September. So for now, we will wait and see what the district decides about sports, especially this school year. Traditionally, sports rosters means that if a student plays 2 or more varsity sports, they would have lunch and PE at the end of the day rather than a content-specific course. But we'll see what happens. And I will give everyone more information about that as that develops. Work rosters is something that some high schools in the city of Philadelphia, in the school district of Philadelphia offer. We do not offer them. If a family does have a specific need where a student must work for specific reasons, then we just ask that family contact the counselors. Okay, next slide. So we're going to gather all the students' information. We're going to figure out exactly with their requests what classes we can offer. What do we have the demands? Do we have the appropriate demands for the teachers? And then official rosters become available in August via that student portal, the same one that they entered their subject selection through. They log on the school district website. And then those first 2 weeks of school, we do a traditional drop add period where students can drop a course, add a course. Maybe this is elective isn't what I thought it was. Maybe it's not for me. I'm in an honors class. Ugh, it's a little too much for me. Let's back up. Whatever the case may be, we make a lot of changes, a lot of movement in those first 2 weeks. And that form will be available online again. That worked really, really well for everyone in September. So we'll be doing it through a Google form again this year. That was a good way to go. And my last slide is just contact information. That CHS roster office at gmail.com. And I, like Mr. McKenna, am in the building. So feel free to call school, feel free to call Central, and you can reach me there. All right.
Okay, so we do have some questions.
Great.
Let's see where they start. Okay, first one I'm seeing is my daughter is a junior. This is the first time she's been rostered for gym and health. Will this 1 year fulfill the requirement?
Yes. So in the state of Pennsylvania, yeah, the shorter answer is yes. In the state of Pennsylvania, physical education does not have a seat time requirement. There's not a specific amount of hours that dictates how many credits can be awarded for a physical education class. So the students do take a full year of physical education 4 days a week, and they just have that 1 day a week of health. So they are given a credit and a half for that.
Okay. Let's see, next question. Will 282 students know if they've been accepted to the IB program before the subject selection period ends in order to select appropriately?
Heather, that's a really good question. I will have to have a conversation with Ms. Hockfield as to what her due date for IB is. In the past, program has given their acceptances prior so that students can make appropriate selections. And I'll have a conversation with her about that. If I was just going to ask Heidi if you can get me Heather's email address. I can answer her question better once I speak with Ms. Hockfield.
Yeah, Heather, I don't know if you can put that in the chat for me directly, or if you want to share that actually with Nicole directly. However, we do that, that's fine. Next question is, where can I find a list? Sorry. These are not related. How do I make, can the slides for the course selection be shared with us? Yeah, we're gonna get these slides. They're part of the recording that gets posted up on the HSA website, and we'll also attach these slides separately, so you can just go through those instead of watching the recording if that's your preference. If students choose honors class, does it need to be approved by the department?
Yes, so each department will have a process for how students apply for those classes. And students can choose the honor class, and if they are accepted into that honors class, then we'll just move them into it. If they choose an honors class and they're not accepted into it, that's okay. I just move them into the regular class.
Okay, and then there's a clarifying question. Are students choosing all their courses or just the electives? And how can we learn? So the second part of this, how can we learn more about the IB program and how do we apply? We did a special presentation at the last Home and School meeting from December and had a full presentation about IB and how to apply. So if you can go on to the Home and School website and watch that video or look at those slides, that addresses the IB portion. And then Nicole, I'll let you answer that first part.
So students are choosing when they see in their student portal the form, the subject selection form, they will have to click on each class. And what that tells us is, do they want the regular class? Do they want the honors level? Do they want the AP level? So they do have to choose each class. The biggest decision for students, for teenagers, is usually the elective, because that could be anything. We have over 50 different electives for students to choose from, but they will choose their classes and their level of classes that they're interested in. Oh, thank you, Heather, for that email address.
And then next question for 10th grade, math has a double path, algebra 2 and geometry taken at the same time. Can you talk about this briefly?
Sure. The average Central student, the majority of Central students take Algebra 1 freshman year. They then move into geometry in 10th grade. That would be the regular path. Students can double up in math, and as their elective, they can take Algebra 2. So then they're taking geometry and Algebra 2 in 10th grade. And what that allows them to do is get to calculus by senior year. So that would be Algebra 1 in 9th grade, geometry and Algebra 2 in 10th grade, and then pre-calculus in 11th grade, and then calculus in 12th. That is a discussion for you and your family to have. What that means for students in reality is that they now have 2 math classes, right? So they now have 2 hours of math each day, and they have 2 classes of math to be doing homework for. The other thing too is that in the past, both Central and parents and just the American education system has really pushed students to get to calculus by senior year. The reality is that what colleges want to see is changing and evolving, and especially in this in the times that we're in, where students are not taking the SAT right now and not taking AP exams, and what some colleges have moved to, rather than having students take calculus in high school, they would like to see them take statistics in high school, because it's more applicable to a broader range of majors in college. So it's really a conversation for you and your student to have, is having 2 math classes in 10th grade something that they're into. Some kids jump at that chance and they're so excited and that's what they want to do. And then some students, the idea of having to go to 2 different math classes each day just makes them want to put their head on the desk. So that's a conversation for you and your family to have, but it is definitely a possibility.
Great. Next question is, can 10th graders choose AP classes?
There are some AP classes available to 10th graders, yes. You would have to look through the subject selection guide. The one that I'm thinking of off the top of my head is the AP Human Geography class, but there are 10th grade classes, or AP European History. There are classes available to 10th graders, yes.
Okay. Next question, for 281, does the art and music from freshman year count toward the 2 arts and or humanities, or do they need to take an additional arts and humanities in senior year?
So the arts and humanities from freshman year does count towards the arts and humanities credits for graduation, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Those are the only ones I'm seeing in the chat.
There's one more about pre-calculus versus statistics for seniors who did not double up sophomore year. That is often a preference for students. And it's also something that you want to do a little research as to the type of college that your student is interested in going to. And what they're interested in doing, if they have an idea of what they're interested in doing, beyond Central and when they do go into college. Pre-calc is not as versatile as statistics, but pre-calc may be a requirement if they're going to be an engineering major, for example. So it's up to each individual student, and Mr. Zach, let me put his email address in the chat. Mr. Zach is the school-based teacher leader for math, and he would definitely be able to talk to that question better than I, but it really is each student depending on their interests and what they want to go into post Central. The next question says, will there be online tests to get into honors and AP classes? That is something that the department chairpersons are reviewing right now and working with Liz Wesley Williams, our head of equity and inclusion, on revamping and revisiting the requirements. So there may or may not be exams to get into those honors and AP classes. We will know more after the 19th, and I will publish all that information on the Google Classroom.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And please feel free to email us at the Gmail account, and please have your students join the Google Classroom, and hopefully we'll get them all the information they need. And if we don't, feel free to ask and tell us. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we're going to hear from Rachel Allender from the Central Anti-Racism Network. Rachel, can you unmute yourself?
I'm unmuted. Hello, everybody. Just wanted to quick, briefly let you know that a small group of parents have been meeting a little more than monthly to develop a Central High School Anti-Racism Network to be part of the HSA. And we are calling out to invite anyone who'd like to join us. We have a form that you can sign up on so that you can get onto the Anti-Racism Network email list, which is actually part of the HSA list. And if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to reach out to email or call me about it. But we've been starting to meet with different people in the community who are also doing anti-racism work. And the goal of being the Anti-Racism Network is to help the parents get connected in with what's going on in the broader community. So we've already met with Mr. Johnson, who's the climate leader, who also came to one of these meetings, and we've spoken with him. Some people from our group have met with Ms. Williams, who's the Director of Equity and Inclusion this year and hopefully going forward. And we're going to be continuing to meet with different people who are taking on different pieces of this really big, important task. And so anyone who'd like to ask questions right now is welcome to, but also just feel free to sign up and come to the meetings. We've been meeting on Sunday afternoons at 4 p.m. about once a month, sometimes a little bit more than that. But we'd love to have you join us.
Thanks, Rachel. I don't think any questions are in the chat, but just as a reminder, the same form link is in the chat, and we'll also add that in the summary that goes up on the homeschool website. Okay, next up is the treasurer's report. Nina.
Good evening, everyone. Just make this kind of quick for everybody. Over the past month, our revenues have been close to about $1,200. Most of that came from sort of an end of year push, of which for computers. And Robin, who's coming up next on fundraising, will give a more detailed update than I will. The only other thing that I wanted to share with you is that we did have a budget conversation about funds that were unspent from the 2020-21 school year. And what we were going to, from the prior school year, and what we were going to do with those dollars. Upon reflection that, given the uncertainty in terms of where revenue will be coming from during this most unusual of years, as well as uncertainty in the budget process overall for the school, given what's going on at the state and federal levels for school funding, we decided that we'll hold in reserve all of the dollars that were not spent from the 2019-2020 school year and wait to see how some of those things shake out and make a decision about where to prioritize the use of those funds. And, and hopefully if we're all back in person in 21, 22, that we'll be able to, be able to support some activities right off the bat to get our kids back acclimated into the schools, et cetera, et cetera. So otherwise, for the bulk of the funds that we raise for this particular school year, they're all being directed towards computers, as we've been talking about, and then any other school identified needs like mindfulness matters. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Nina. Next up is Robin, who will give us a little bit more detail about the funds that we raised and an update on Spiritware.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to everybody who's donated. I know these are, for some people, very difficult times. So certainly we appreciate all the donations that have come through. I do have on the slide that we were able to order 23 computers. It's actually, we found out that they had gotten a bulk discount on the computers, and so they were actually like $1,049 a computer instead of the 1,400. So we've raised closer to almost 30 computers. And then Mr. McKenna had some funding through his budget, and so between our computers and his budget, he was able to order 85. So that's, we certainly have contributed to helping to get new computers for all of the teachers. And, it's certainly, they ordered them. It'll certainly help for when they come in for the remainder of the year, but then certainly for the rest of the years, the upcoming years. He said that, like he had said, about some of the computers were 8 to 10 years old. So it's great that we're getting that replaced. It's a good push. We'll still be accepting donations. So there's the donation button and then the Venmo that you can also do. I will note that I did get all the thank you letters out. So if you did not get a thank you letter and you need one, certainly email me here and we can check our records. But as far as I know, I got all of them out in the past day or so. And then for Spiritware, I think Tira had jumped off, but Tira was able to get us to, we had looked at Teespring. We've decided against that at this time. So we're actually going to go through Campus Clothes, which is a local store. We're not going to go to the store to order them, but it'll be an online store that you can order them. We will have 2 designs to choose from, t-shirts and hoodies. Hopefully with the t-shirts, we're trying to do like a unisex and then more of a female cut t-shirt, and then just the hoodies. And with embroidery, we're going to try to do baseball hats, and we're also going to look at masks to see if we can get those printed as well. So that will work such that hopefully we'll have it open. She's working with them now. We'll get it open in about a week, and it'll be open for 2 weeks. So you'll have 2 weeks to make that order and it'll ship directly to you. We considered doing it as a bulk order and having people pick it up, but I think still at this point, we want to just have them shipped directly to you. So look for that email coming out in a couple of days from Tira with access to the online store.
Great.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just a reminder about the committees, if anybody is interested and enthusiastic about getting involved with the Home and School. These are the contact names for each of the committees. And now we'll move into class updates.
280, the cardigan orders have been extended and they can still be ordered through the end of the month. I know that Mr. McKenna went over Chromebooks. If you haven't received one, you can pick one up at Central. We're waiting on the district for any end of year activities. I promise when we know, you will know. As soon as they know, we will let you know. Museum Day has been a long tradition, but we're having difficulty finding live virtual museum tours. Most of them are click-throughs, or they're not willing to do a live virtual tour for free. So if anybody has any contacts at the museums, then the only one that right now that's willing to do it is the penitentiary. So if anybody, email me, email Miss Kincaid or Miss Harrington, any of us, and let us know if you have any contacts with those museums that we can pressure to let our kids do a live virtual tour. The Battle of the Classes will continue throughout the year. January's theme is entertainment. Dues are going to be finalized shortly. We don't know the exact amount, but we do know that it will be under $200. If you've already paid them in full, you'll be receiving a refund. Right now, dues will cover the cap and gown, diploma covers, and the yearbook. If you're having trouble with dues, please reach out to either Ms. Kincaid or Ms. Harrington. If you're uncomfortable with that, one of the counselors, Mr. McKenna, me, anybody, and just let us know so that don't not order the cap and gown, or don't not, let your kid participate, because we'll figure it out. Just let us know. And I think that's it for 280. We will have a lot more coming up probably next month.
Great, thanks, Deb. Okay, 281. Who do we have tonight?
Maybe nobody, it might be me. The 281 hoodies have been shipped. I know that I got a package from that I ordered on Cyber Monday yesterday. So, I mean, the post office is experiencing some significant delays. But if you haven't received it, Mr. Horwitz is happy to look into it for you. Battle of the Classes trivia. He thinks they're going to win, but we know he's not. The Young Alumni Speaker Series is continuing Friday the 29th after school. Mr. Horwitz is the one organizing the virtual 5K walk and run. We think it's going to be from March 20th to the 31st, and that information should be coming out shortly. He also talked about the Chromebooks. This is a good one for everybody. The second quarter ends January 27th at 5 p.m. There are no midterms this year. He also included some links. The JFK essay contest is open. It's a Profile and Courage essay contest that's open to all the students. And the Bezos Scholars is open to juniors. I think that application deadline has actually been extended. It's not January 11th, but if you go to the website, you'll see. And I think that's it for 281.
Okay. Do we have 282?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Lisa. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Okay, so we have 282 class t-shirts. All shirts have been shipped. The post office is still experiencing delays. Reach out to Ms. Esserman if you haven't received your order. Battle of the Classes trivia is Friday, January 22nd after school. Young Alumni Speaker Series is Friday, January 29th after school. And there's a Central High School virtual 5K happening in March. Info will be sent out soon. Parents and students are encouraged to participate. And the same Chromebooks are available for pickup at Central, January 11th through 14th, if you haven't received one from the school district. That's it.
Thanks, Lisa. And 283. Do we have Jamie or Denise?
Yeah, we're both here. I'm here.
Okay.
So 283 t-shirts are on sale. They're a short sleeve and long sleeve, and they have to be ordered by February 1st. And I just put the order form in the chat. If your student has not attended the Philadelphia Futures after high school planning meeting, there's still another session tomorrow at 2:45, and students should have information about that. And I think that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so that's the end of the meeting. If anybody did not register their attendance in the chat, please do that before you sign off. Our next meeting is February 10th, and we'll be talking through planning for the school's winter budget, which is important for parents to participate in. And other than that, there's some upcoming dates of when things are happening. You heard about January 27th. School is closed on January 18th for MLK Day of Service. We heard about report card conferences, our next meeting, and then President's Day, school is also closed. And then our March meeting is also on the 10th. So thanks everybody for joining tonight.
Can I real quick, there was a question in there about how to pay dues. I know there's a link to pay online, and I will put it on the listserv in the Facebook page and the HSA website.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
Good night.
Thank